and Beautification Commission meeting for July, and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Mrs. Dussault?
Here.
Ms. Schwartz?
Here.
Mr. Runge? Mr. Crisafulli? Ms. Cunningham? Mr. Downey?
Here.
And Chairman Zimmerman.
Here, thank you. First item on our agenda this morning is the approval of the June 20th minutes. Are there any corrections or additions needed? If not, Chair would entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. Minutes are approved. Audience participation. We have a non-existent audience today, with the exception of our two staff people. They are not considered audience. They never applaud either.
Oh.
Okay, moving on into old business. First item on the agenda this morning is the downtown hanging baskets. And Clerk, I think you had a comment back from the Main Street people. You might just share that with the group, if you would, please.
Yes, they announced that they didn't have any new information yet. They said they would have come to the meeting, but they really didn't have anything to share, so they'll let us know when they have something, new progress, I guess.
Yes, rather a disappointing reply. Dan, you weren't here last time, but right. You probably read the minutes, and we went through this whole exercise, and I think we all have presupposed and certainly have come to that conclusion after a review that without their buy-in and involvement, there's no sense moving forward with any kind of expansion of this program. And in fact, the thing that I worry about is if there's a lack of participation on their part and no buy-in, even having those baskets up on the poles could be detrimental, because if they're not taken care of, we're going to hear about it, and so is the city.
Right. It reflects poorly on us, and as well as on the association and on the city too, for approving the project.
Yep.
Yeah. The two towns that I called when we were talking about the irrigation, they have it under their program of the Public Works. And they're towns that are up north, Saratoga and Albany. And what they do is it's only a couple of months. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they have trucks every day that go out and water. And so hence my idea with the irrigation, because I knew it was going to fall back on, it wasn't going to be, to me, like small towns are the ones where the guy goes out with the water can. And I think we're kind of in the middle between the small town and the city. You know?
I have to say, I don't know if it's just an irrigation problem. I think it's a commitment problem generally. And I would agree with you. I don't know procedurally how, if we don't get the proper feedback over a period of time, what do we do to remove the baskets so that they don't, what we envisioned as something great doesn't become a real eyesore?
Mm-hmm. I would certainly second that thought, and I think it might be advisable to ask the clerk, if there's a consensus here today, to kind of just give them a phone call and inform them that we discussed it this morning. We were disappointed that there was no resolution on their part of addressing it, and that our concern would be, as we move forward, that if there isn't some service, however provided in force, that we would be inclined to recommend to have the planters removed because of the potential negative impact both on the city, our image, and in fact their own association. Maybe that'll stir a response.
Now, the baskets are considered the city property, if I'm not mistaken, since we expended city public funds for those baskets. So possibly we might look at other places in the city that we might be able to reuse the basket we would hate to have those funds totally go to waste. We spent quite a bit on that.
I agree, and the answer may be to consider, and this is not going to make the Main Street people happy, but consider using them on the barrier island, because the buy-in there from the merchants seems a lot more committed based on what goes on. But again, until we were to investigate that, but just a thought
Yeah, no, I thought the same
based
thing.
on, Dan's comment, because they are the city property, and it would be a shame to have them go to waste. But I think we've all seen with what's going on with the city budget and that Public Works is lost, or you are going to lose an employee, isn't that right? 4.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know 4.
Yeah, I thought it was 2 or 3.
So you're going to have to start mowing?
Probably 4 weeks. I don't know if you want me on more.
But, well, no.
And like I said before, at the very beginning when we talked about this, because I've been down this road before. I've been doing this for a long time. And then whenever you get something where it's, we'll take care of it, it always falls back on the municipality or where I was at the college. And, I made it very clear that we didn't want to take that burden. I agree with you that mostly it would be a public works thing.
Right.
But from the very beginning, the only reason that we did it was because they said that they would bear that burden. And it's almost an everyday thing, and I just don't have the resources.
No, that's why I called the other ones that I knew that I saw beautiful. I'm like, how does this work for you? And they're like, Public Works. I'm like, I knew it. I know it.
Yeah, exactly.
I knew it.
Yeah.
And I can assure you, having served on this board for more years than I'm willing to admit, we've had that similar kind of, with a lack of buy-in from a group, whether it's a garden club or whether it's merchants or whatever. You're dead in the water. And
see, that's why I said the towns, because I know like little towns, so people are like, okay, it's Mary's responsibility to go out and do the thing, and there are 3 baskets, and Mary does it.
Well, volunteers is something that we had discussed earlier.
Yeah, that didn't work.
And I think originally when the program was initiated, that the Downtown Association was going to hire, they hired someone to do the project, then the funds weren't there to pay for that individual. So, and they didn't have the buy-in with the volunteers and the merchants. So.
Well, realistically, Vero Beach is not that large as a city when you look at the population. In many other instances, it would be considered a town. But, again, we're kind of beating a dead horse. It's not our responsibility to find somebody to monitor this. It's theirs. They're the ones who came to us and asked to put the project together. The project is in their location, and my own personal opinion would be that we need to have them face up to it and either do it or not do it, which of course goes back 2 years or whenever we started talking about this, where our concerns were. So I hope that the statement to their manager, to their executive director, will maybe kind of stir some kind of response within the group. And if not, then we'll have to move forward.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I have no.
The proposed mitigation requirements, a number of us attended last month's PP&Z meeting and had an opportunity to make comments. The only reason I wanted this on the agenda was, one, to bring it to your attention that there is a meeting again this afternoon. Secondly, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to attend. I'm going to try. I don't know. Do we have any real idea when the portion of the meeting concerned with this subject is going to take place?
On the agenda, it's the last item, but I don't know if that's how it's going to fall.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they won't move it because they didn't the last time. So, they have some other weighty stuff on their agenda today. And again, if you can attend, try and do it. The thing that I found very difficult as an attendee was to even get a handle until the discussion actually started taking place among the PP&Z members about what it was they were trying to accomplish and how they were trying to accomplish, and some of the concerns expressed by their chairman, who was the one who primarily critiqued it based on my observations. I found myself identifying with his thoughts, and that was try to make it as less onerous as possible within the framework of personal property rights. And, that as a realtor, that is one of my concerns and one of our association's concerns, that you don't structure things so that the property owner doesn't have an opportunity after owning a piece of property to develop it within the framework of what's reasonable. And, I think they were taking that into consideration too. So I tried to read through and get a feeling for how they were approaching it. I know they made some changes about just having one permit regardless of the number of trees and some other things, but I can't say that I really have a comfortable feeling about the direction of how this ordinance is moving. Those are my observations. I'd be interested in anyone else's observations.
Well, my observation is similar to yours in that I think their struggle is trying to come to terms with some kind of a reasonable compromise with saving trees and continuing tax revenues on homes, because that's actually what we're talking about. I read through their modifications or proposed modifications. I will attend the
Good.
meeting. I think that the concept, and you actually made the statement at the meeting, that the concept still has to be that you have to recognize that we want to be Tree City. That's great. But we also need to know that there's a time when we have to look at the entire picture and say, you expended funds to buy this piece of property. You are a citizen who intends to pay taxes to the city. We cannot, and I think there's case law to substantiate it, we cannot be so tunnel visioned as to preclude you to use your property in your best way. We don't want you to come and defoliate. This isn't going to be the coast of California with the redwoods, but in the same token, there has to be a happy medium. One of the things that I was most concerned about in seeing the discussion and seeing the proposals is I think it places an enormous amount of responsibility on the director. And I don't know necessarily, and this is just from my past experience in the Northeast, where I served on boards and as an attorney, I wouldn't want that job. I think to put the onus on the director to make those decisions it's a very onerous situation, and I think they ought to rethink it. But nobody asked me, so.
Well, I think you should feel free to comment this afternoon if you attend. And as I said, I plan to try and attend. Yeah, I think it highly politicizes his job in
absolutely.
the future, because there are going to be instances. In my own mind, the focus seemed to be more on development aspects than on truly protecting trees in existence,
Yes.
And especially
I agree.
specimen trees. And I think that's the wrong focus. Now, maybe that's where they got hung up, and that's why they're discussing that so much. But to me, the tree protection portion of this, there's going to be a lot more abuse in Sally and Joe down the street who decide that, that darn oak tree sure makes a lot of mess in our yard. Let's get rid of it, and it's gone.
Right.
And to me, it's very important to take action, not only against the homeowner in those instances, but against the contractor who performed the work. And this is the one serving on the County Code Enforcement Board. I can tell you, when they cite a situation of trees being taken down illegally without permits, we cite both the contractor and the property owner. And I think until you adopt that kind of proposal, it's always, well, the property owner is going to take a chance on getting caught. The contractor says,
I'm making money, so
there's
right. Nobody's going to do anything to me.
I don't have any stock in this game. So,
right.
I'm going to get paid, and then I'm gone.
Right. Well, that's why I asked the question, if you recall, Carl, I asked the question, well, how do the city's P&Z rules compare and contrast to those of the county?
Yes.
Because there is nothing worse than you're playing badminton.
Yeah.
Now, well, if I do it here, let's look at the odds. Okay, I mean, it's like a bean counter. Let's look at the odds of getting caught. If the county catches me, I'm in trouble. If the city catches me, I'm not. Well, you got to be in trouble all the time.
Yeah, and I made that same point because that was a factor in the review of the sign ordinance when we were working as a committee with the city manager in trying to fashion the temporary sign ordinance for real estate signs and other signs to try and make it as uniform with the counties as the cities could become.
Right.
And personally, I think that's the way the county. Now, the comment was made, well, the city's a lot more built out than the county. There's no question about that. There's much less open acreage. Right. There's very little of it. And so there was concern. But again, that concern is, in my mind, more directed towards the tree removal as it occurs, as opposed to a tree having been removed or having to be removed because of either an expansion of an existing home or a tear down and a rebuild. Anyway, those are kind of my thoughts. And as I say, if I get a chance, I'm going to try and attend. I may just try and show up at like 2 or 2:30 and see what happens relative to where they are in their agenda.
Right. I assume that their normal meeting.
1:30.
No, I know it's at 1:30, but I mean, having now attended one, I would imagine that no matter what else they have on the agenda, the meeting itself goes at least an hour.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because the whole thing of rentals was like forever.
Yeah, and it does stream if you don't have the Comcast channel. It does stream on the city website. So you can keep an eye on it.
Well, I'm going to be over in the law library and the courthouse, so
that's what I may try and do is, catch it that way.
Okay.
Any other comments on that subject? Okay, let's move into, is there anything else in the old business category we need to address? Okay. New business, first item is summer meeting schedule. Looking at last month's attendance and this month's attendance, I would be very directed to try and suspend and not meet in the month of August. And that would be my recommendation. But of course, it's a consensus of this board and what we want to do. But it's very difficult, trying to get people together and get things moving. And to be honest with you, with our agenda as it is now and subjects that we have, there's really nothing pressing other than something we really have no control over, which is the basket issue.
And it gives them an extra month to kind of get their act together.
Yes. Yeah.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Would someone make a motion, please, so that we have...
I would make a motion that we not have a meeting in August and have our next meeting in September.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second?
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, next item is the tree application. And I happen to know, or had known, Dr. Robert Vinson, who was a practicing physician in town for a long period of time. It's nice that the families are doing this. Are there any questions or concerns about the application? If not, the chair would entertain a motion for approval.
I so move for the approval of the Jamie and Jim Hart application for tree dedication for Dr. Robert H. Vinson.
I second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. It's approved unanimously. Thank you. Let me just sign this. Thank you. Okay. Any other new business today? Okay. Hearing none. Treasurer's report.
Tree Commission is the same. It's $5,673.27. The tree replacement is now $24,003.45.
Wow. That's great. We need to come up with some projects to try and use some of those funds, as I say, before they catch the eye of the city council members who try to maybe raid the fund or borrow some money.
Sorry.
Right.
So you don't have anything pending, Nanette, right now, do you, as far as any planting projects?
I always have pending planting projects. I keep a list.
Well, in September, could you come back with some suggestions
Sure.
on things that you think would be apropos for us to fund, either under beautification, because beautification doesn't just have to be flowers either.
Right, right. And I did want to make a comment on that Division of Forestry grant that we applied for.
Last year.
No, just in March.
Oh, yeah, it was like
okay.
a couple
So
of months ago.
All right.
We were awarded. We asked for 9,600. We got 5,200.
Great.
So we were
Yeah.
going to do the Canal Bank on 20th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With this smaller amount, I have to buy less trees. So I'm going to just shrink it down and do from State Route 60 to 23rd Street.
Yeah.
23rd. Just that one block, rather than going all the way down to the end, because I have to buy less trees now with the 5,000.
Well,
Why-
can't
yeah.
we use some of that money to
That's why
to
why
make
don't
up
you
the
come back
difference?
in September with a proposal for us to
Yeah,
recommend
yeah.
the city council to do the full project,
And you could buy the,
and we could make
Right.
up the difference.
and we can do that match.
Be another
Because then-
5,000 or so.
Okay.
Or,
Then,
Yeah.
then the project would be complete,
Complete,
and it
yeah.
would be done at one time.
Right.
And it would,
Okay.
because everything's going to come to maturity together as opposed to doing it in a staged basis.
I think I'm getting the maintenance agreement from the state in August. I'm not sure what time. They just told me it was going to come in August.
Does that complicate matters because of extending it?
I think we have to have that signed in August,
But
which
it only
means
pertains to their part. You would have to, or somehow, the maintenance of whatever was added, because they're not going to agree to anything.
well, I have to have my in-kind in that new budget.
Oh, well,
So they're giving us $5,200, and right now I'm just a little shy of that match. But if I'm going to then match another amount, let's say another $5,000 that from the Tree and Beautification Commission's funds, then I'll have to put that in my revised budget. That might not be a good idea to have that in before that gets approved.
Well, however
by you all.
You think politically
And then the council.
is the correct way to approach it. I would think we would all agree that you approach it that way, but come back to us in September with a plan that we can review and approve at that meeting to recommend to City Council for the expenditure of the funds. And then, because I really am concerned about allowing too much money to accumulate. In that
Sure.
fund.
Absolutely.
And I've got about $3,000 that we're going to spend on the Victory Boulevard trees.
Yeah.
And I'm just waiting for the contractor to, start that. So,
But I think we would be partnering, and I think we'd be finishing a project, and it would be something that we could look to and feel, proud that we had been able to assist in doing that.
now the shrinking of their budget made me take out benches that we were going to put in. They actually didn't allow us to have the benches as part of our in-kind. So, and then we were going to do some clustering of ground cover, native, low-maintenance ground cover underneath groups of sable palms. Because predominantly, when you get this type of grant, they like you to use natives. So I had taken all that out. That aspect could be put back in so that, what we envisioned was to have a nice place where you could walk along that sidewalk and have a seat underneath the shade tree, if you will.
But wouldn't that be a great opportunity for the public to contribute a bench like we have in Riverside?
Oh, absolutely. But we could install them, and then somebody can say, "I'd like to donate that," and then what they do is they just purchase it and get the plaque, and then we install it.
Right.
So,
but that way they might have a choice. They might have a choice of where the bench is located within whatever approval oversight you.
right, absolutely. That
department
could
would have.
be an expansion of the dedicatory bench program.
Yeah, I think
That'd be a great idea.
Yeah,
But then
creates awareness too on the part of the public.
Sure. So restoring, the full breadth of that project, shrinking it down to what they gave me really wasn't going to be much of an impact because it was just
totally.
a handful of oaks and
Yeah,
some of the white geigers. And so being able to do that whole length will definitely go further.
And you said you picked different, like flowering, not just the same ones, too.
Yeah, we
if I
have
remember you said
the
that.
white geiger
Yeah.
and the fringe tree, which is a native, and then sweet acacia, which is another native with a little powder puff yellow. So there were, and then I had tipuana, which is the big yellow flowering tree. So just to get a little bit of color out there, so it wasn't just oaks. And then we used different oaks rather than just live oaks. We used falcata and shumard. So just to get some more variety in. And those are all native oaks.
Yeah, I knew you had
great.
said that it
Yeah.
wasn't just one.
Right.
Sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
And then just groupings of sable palmettos where we could with kunti underneath and then some saw palmetto. So it's very, Florida native
What kind of
centric.
life expectancy do those oaks have, Nanette?
Long.
Is it?
Yeah. I can't.
I was just wondering
yes,
in relationship to the live.
I want to say probably in between the laurel and the live. I think live oaks are.
Yeah.
There's nothing that quite gets up to that 200-year mark.
Right.
But they're longer than the laurel oaks.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Great. That sounds like a spot on project.
Okay, well,
to me.
what I'll do is I'll go ahead and then, with the new revised budget that I'm sending to the Division of Forestry, keep our full project, but I'll just bump up what we're doing as a match
Right.
with the
And
tree plantings.
I'm sure you're going to review that with Monty first.
Oh,
to get his
absolutely.
buy-in.
Absolutely.
Because that way, then if he feels it's necessary to mention it to the city manager, he will. If not, why?
Yes. Well, because the city manager is the one that actually has to sign
Okay,
the agreement with the state. So,
Great.
yeah.
great. And I personally, I don't think there'd be any reluctance on city council to
Let us do it.
to approve the expenditure of the money, because what it does is finishes the project. And
Right.
Yeah.
That's what
And
your
that's-
highly
initial goal.
visible.
And
That's
it's a-
essentially what we're
It's
here
wonderful.
Yeah, and it's a larger impact too.
Great.
Yeah.
for. Okay, good.
All right. Chairman's matters. I really don't have anything under chairman's matters. Members matters. Anything?
No.
Okay, as we know, the next meeting will now be in September, so we need to make that note in our own records. Are there any other items to come before us today?
Is the September meeting going to be September 19th, which is the third Thursday?
That would be right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that's the third Thursday, the 19th. Well, I'll have to do that sometime. Anyway, Chair would entertain a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
We are adjourned. Thank you, and appreciate your attending today. Enjoy your month's vacation, and if you get a chance to attend this afternoon, please come. As I said, I'm going to try and make it.